Good day, everyone. It's Friday, last day of the week, and we're so happy to be here all together. And I see all these smiles and familiar faces. And talking about Gen Z, workplace, challenges, opportunities, ideas, things that are happening already, practicality of working with Gen Z, but also what we need to have in consideration in the coming years in a way that what we do now can actually build a solid and healthy and sustainable working collaboration and emotional collaboration with a generation that will really define what's going to happen in the next 30 years. I'm excited, goosebumps, to have here 4 people who managed to be today with us, that they represent completely different industries, and that's a great thing to have, so they can actually give their point of view from different perspectives. And just to connect with what we've done a few months ago, we had our first session with Gen Z individuals. That was an eye-opener to understand how the Gen Zs are thinking about being part of this world and what they expect from the corporate world. So today we have the answer from the corporate world here. I will start with a question from you, Mohammad. And it's a generic question, so address it the way you want. Do we really understand Gen Z? I mean, if you deal with 5,500 kids every single day, do we really understand them and the variations of Gen Z within their age group?
These titles that are given are so generic, aren't they? It's for us to simplify a very complex phenomena, but the phenomena does remain very, very complex. I think, the standard definition of somebody born after the 2000s, it's your typical, definition of Gen Z. It might be useful to understand what this group has been through, if you like, in the time that they have with us.
Yeah.
So if you think about, and again, I invite you to, from your perspective, share what are the major events that have happened globally that have impacted this generation, as early as, the 9/11 episode in the US, which really had global impact everywhere else. This was the generation that saw all sorts of conversations around race and inequality come to the forefront. Yeah. Movements like Me Too, as part of, this generation's build up to what they're, bringing as values with them. This generation struggled through the 2008 great financial recession. Yeah. Unlike any other before. They've seen, technology really exponentially make strides. Every week, every month, there is something new that they've got to sort of cope with and grapple. And so the wide complexity in which this generation has come to being ready for the workforce is what brings that complexity. That's what I think defines the complexity. And I'm sure I'm missing several other key events in their lifetime that has shaped what this generation goes through. So I think it's important to acknowledge that as what shapes the behavior.
The funny thing is that we all been through the same situations, right? But in different ages. So COVID, for example, that is a big event for generations that when they went through COVID, it was exactly when they were about to be employed.
Yeah.
Where we were the employers for them.
Correct.
So when they enter COVID and they want to get a job, they all of a sudden have to deal with organizations that are not behaving normally anymore. Because during COVID, we became different completely. So they haven't met the real organization. They met something else. So this confuses them a lot.
Yeah.
And makes them with more anxiety and more stress. And this is how it looks like and why people behave that. And people were not used actually to interact through online platforms, right? We're all face-to-face. So we were changing so much that they were not seeing the real corporate.
What are the skills that we see Gen Z have compared to the previous generations that are so important from a business perspective in a way for all of us to feel that we need to, engulf them and employ them and go be closer to them, although we still don't really grasp how they stand as individuals. So what are the skill set they have that we want from this generation?
So just one thing I wanted to add on the previous question was we also need to look at the Gen Z from a regional perspective, because a 20-year-old in China and a 20-year-old in the US is also in a very different context, right? So I really like that regional context to add. For sure, I mean, everyone reads it and you see it quite often, is that, yes, we all saw it also in the previous generation, the digital skill set, but it's more in terms of like how they use it in different platforms, or for example, like how they would, I know when we are on a call, they're like maybe already on the call itself, you know, they're preparing the presentation live, yeah, so I think that's a good thing. Sometimes for me it can be like, okay, maybe they're not so prepared, but it's a different mindset overall, right? So I think it is just fast and mixing, being able to combine many things. At the same time, like also the designing, like they're all having their Canva account, they're quite quick in these things. You don't always have to immediately outsource. I think you have a lot of the skill set already internally available. That's on the digital side. I would say they're all very well educated. So they have a lot of soft skills that they bring to the workplace when it comes to organizing. Also when it comes to, I would say, the whole what we are internally also advocating is this speak up culture. I think they're really not afraid to bring up. Afraid is maybe a specific word, but they're not afraid to bring up sensitive topics. Can be about their salaries, can be about any of these topics that maybe we wouldn't immediately say. They know their value, so they're not afraid of bringing that up. So that speak up culture, I think, definitely bringing back that cultural environment in Middle East and Africa is still not. So we are cultivating that, and they help on this part. So our hotline is more and more used. So I think that eventually is a good thing if you know what's happening in your organization, right? And then I think also maybe less of a skill, but in general they very much, I can see, hold on the value. So they question is in line with that speak up culture, but they value, they see you have all these nice posters of your what you're aiming to do, but they will now say, okay, so in reality, if you think about the conflicts we have in this region, right, and you support there, you're not supporting there, why we don't have a statement about this conflict, and we have a statement in what's happening in Ukraine. So they really question it, they bring that up, and I think that is a very valuable discussion they bring on the work floor.
We're going to go deeper into that. I'm going to talk about what is politically correct for Gen Z, when for us it was like, oh my God, I have to go by the book because otherwise I'm going to have an impact on what I want to do. But before we go there, because you touched on a point which is about cultures, multicultural teams, we need to understand Gen Z, not from a generation perspective only, but also from where they come. Shireen, you are present in 147 countries.
That's right.
And you are dealing with moving people and issuing visas around the world. How do you see this generation being mobile, or what kind of key elements of personality you see in the key countries you are present?
So I think one, of course, is this sense of dynamism that they bring to anything that they are tasked with or given with. And something that I also tell the teams across our global operations is this generation will want to know the how and the why. So don't expect to, have their goodwill right away without explaining to them the how and the why. The age of deference, where if somebody in authority said something, it has to be done, I think is behind us. So I think that kind of, openness works very well. And I think the demographic in itself, when it goes to different paths, when they rotate, what we've also seen is while they are different, there are certain binding factors. Okay. So they end up relating to each other on those grounds as well. So for a fact that they will want something done digitally, as she mentioned. You know for a fact that they will speak up a lot more about issues. But what we also train them and capacitate them with is the fact that you have to find a middle ground, because at the end of the day, you are working for a global organization. And even though you may be part of a certain demographic, there are other demographics who are also your peers and your colleagues. So the organization cannot change overnight only to cater to a certain type. So I think because of that kind of indoctrination, induction, which happens very early on, the Gen Z demographic within our organization is quite well prepared when they are in different locations.
In the academia, we have the student bodies. And we listen to them because we want to hear from them what they feel about what we do, their points of view. They are not shy at all. How this experience and this process in the academia helps academia to become better, and how you see that this could be actually applicable for the corporate world?
Absolutely. So the focus in higher education has been to serve two key stakeholders, essentially the industry, the society that graduates will go into, but also students' own needs. And these needs are beyond just knowledge. These days, knowledge, with the internet, has been completely democratized, right? So you can find, with the right amount of skills and resources, you can find access to the most cutting-edge information from the convenience of your desktop, right? So university life is about the experience, and the experience has to be shaped based on a personal value that the student or the student body holds. So this is why, not just in higher education, even going to sort of secondary and tertiary education, there's been this move to integrate a lot of the student voice in our decision making. So on our academic board, which is the highest sort of governing body we have at universities, we would have student representation. And all throughout, you want to write a new program, guess who's on the panel to validate that program? Even though they may not be the knowledge experts, but they would know what to set as expectations from a body of experts. And a lot of that thinking, if you go back a few steps, particularly when the question about hierarchy comes in, it's about the behaviors that they have grown into. The world of social media, again, is this absolute no hierarchy. Anybody can have an opinion and comment on anybody else. You don't value those things in a digital world. And so that translates back into their expectations of other scenarios as well. And I think the third piece of that equation is our own contribution as academia. Our leadership theory has constantly been evolving to say, lead concepts like servant leadership, where you actually serve your employees to perform their best. Concepts of, cross-functional teams, of agile teams, of intrapreneurship. Let your employees act as if they were CEOs of their own little organization. When we are delivering that kind of training in higher education, in research, naturally they'll expect that to come across when they move to the world of work.
Yeah.
Hierarchy is what you have on the map, on the paper, with the boxes and the lines and the reporting lines, and this is one thing. And the second thing is what is in people's heads and hearts, all right? So if a leader, and I liked a lot all the terminology used from the academic entrepreneurship and agile organizations. For an organization to be agile, the people have to be agile. Because the structure might look agile, all right? And McKinsey is a very nice of...
Yeah, they do very nice.
Yeah, because they came up with that, right? Yeah. The point is that if I am not accepting that a person who I work with in my team can also bypass me and speak with somebody else about a topic, then I'm not agile, then the organization will never be agile. So if we're not able to break the silos within the organization, and to break the silos we need to removing the ego from inside us, we need to understand, we need to become more transformational leaders. Maybe we'll go the leadership topic also, which is very important.
Very important.
Because here the middle management is the key to succeed in this direction. But the whole point, all the hierarchy is here. And if this breaks, then the paper doesn't matter.
How do you see technology play a role in defining the Gen Z as a strong, group for hiring, but then how they are threatened because of that?
Threaten, huh?
But don't forget AI and all this kind of stuff we talk about now, and we have regulations. It's a crazy world.
Yeah. Well, when we speak about technology and digitalization in the workspace, the first thing that comes to my mind is efficiency. All right, and everything works in order for the corporations to be efficient and be able to save costs.
Yeah.
So this is where technology kicks in, right? So we can really speed up the processes. We can really change the relationship with our customers. So technology is a magical thing that happened the last years, and we have the best ones who can really help us to implement these technological advancements within our organization. These are these people, all right? Yeah. Because these are native digitals,
exactly.
all right? I was not born with technology. I learned technology, and like I need to learn Chinese now, it's going to be more difficult than a baby who is born in China. So these people, they live by technology, all right? So we have to learn from them, and we have to allow them space so they can make the organizations more efficient. This is 100% the topic, and I can connect also this with the previous discussion about agile organizations.
Yeah.
We have, for example, in our company, a person who works almost individually on implementing an RPA, robotic process automation system, all right? And they improve the processes, and this is reporting, but also pricing, all right? And they implement this robot, and he's doing it by himself. Nobody asked him to do it. He's a very young person, maybe in the boundaries between Gen Z and Millennial.
Very nice.
All right? And then he's doing it by himself, and people let him do it by himself. So they don't tell him, no, you have to finish what we have agreed as a goal, and this is our target, and you have to finish your tasks. They let him do it.
Can I ask you something here? Do they let him do it because they trust him he's capable, or because they don't know how to check?
His boss is a cool guy.
Okay. Because sometimes if we don't know how to check something, we don't even touch it.
I would say just the person, the boss is agile, the boss, sorry, the person who reports to, right?
Yeah, nice,
so he's agile person, all right? Agile mindset. And then there are people asking him, how are you managing that? How do you need any help? So the organization, there are some people in the organization who are not reporting to the same person, or they are not belonging to the same department, and they're interested in his job.
Very nice.
So this person is immediately motivated.
Yeah.
This is what stands, to motivate a Gen Z.
The nature of the business that VFS is in, we are an administrative service provider which relies on technology to help governments make decisions on whether they want to or not want to give a visa to a particular applicant. Now, the trend that I see within the organization, and this is across our operations, is that technology is going to replace this entire process. Currently, you will go to a visa application center, submit your documents, and then we will send it to the embassy or the consulate. They will process it, and so on and so forth. But what we are discovering with Gen Z in the organization is that they are coming up with very interesting inputs on, okay, fine, our CEO is saying, how are we going to plan better for the takeover of AI and ChatGPT in this entire industry? They are coming up with some superb solutions just to help us be resilient to the invasion of technology. And I see that across the board. So they for us, it's become like a resource group in the organization, because they get it intuitively. Our seniors or the board may still have to read up on what is this whole phenomena, but when you talk to a Gen Z, they are on top of it. They know what's going to happen, they know what's coming, and they come up with some fantastic inputs which then the digital transformation team absorbs and takes it forward. So and that's the trend across the markets. They also go as far as to guide us on regulation as well. So I have been like in a governance meeting where I have a Gen Z person telling us, hey, did you all know about this regulation that just came out? And so it's fascinating to have them share that with us. And they are also doing this because they are purpose driven, right? So purpose driven is not just about doing good for society, but also how can I do my best for the organization that I'm a part of. So we welcome that wholeheartedly.
So how have you seen from your experience, Eva, the way they take feedback, how they process, and how they actually discuss about their career path progression?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, I think the first month they start. After first month, they will definitely come and ask you. So, what's your feedback? And I'm just like, on what? What has been delivered so far? So when it comes to like, it's not only the developmental, right? It's also like a positive part, and this is something that maybe then from my generation, it's like that giving that recognition is really more like when you have more something tangible.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to definitely adapt. And I think cultivating that feedback culture in our organization has been like it's definitely a process. It has been slowly moving. Definitely not the recognition part, but that developmental part. That's what they want to hear, right? And that's something that across. I wouldn't even say generational, but across human being, they just people don't like to give developmental feedback, and they're not so good at that when it's like definitely about when you're not delivering, right, and making that so clear. So I see that still as something of a challenge throughout, but when they want to grow in the company, I think that they're very verbalizing about that, and I think that's good because you're right, they're not afraid, of there's not an opportunity. Our paths, despite maybe of a consulting company, our paths are very much like can be really a different different functions. They grow like horizontal. They go back to go up again. So I think it's very much career paths are not so defined anymore. But still, it is important then to set the expectations, because sometimes when you go to other functions and you need to really start again from scratch, that means also like how does that fit in our classic models, also compensation wise, because yes, you can maybe you grew the first 3 years and then you move to you want to know a little bit more about the operations, then it's not really like lateral moving. So it's really managing those expectations, and I think we do that. We have a young talent program with existing employees, and they really have the opportunity to work on a lot of projects in their current role. But I sometimes see that maybe more than I expect, that we need to also give somehow that more like guidance. Maybe that I see that if you just let it run by its own, that maybe you do not get that upwards input again, like then it's maybe a little bit dying. So I still believe there is that need of guidance.
The world of work itself has become very dynamic, right? There is a call, I think it was a Deloitte report recently, that called for Gen Z and Gen Alpha to think of themselves as the Renaissance figures, because that's what expected in their careers. Who remembers some of the greats from the Renaissance, European Renaissance era? In my mind, Leonardo da Vinci comes to mind, right? And this is important because you've got to have a Renaissance figure. Essentially is an individual that has got multiple interests and skills in very, very diverse set of fields.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the expectation of that generation, both from the world of work as well as their personal fulfillment. So I could be studying computer science, but as my side hustle, I'm going to be really, really great at graphic design, or I'm going to be moonlighting as a videographer or a DJ in the evenings, right? And then I'm going to have a side hustle that does an automated Instagram Shopify business, right? They want to wear all those multiple hats. They want to be the programmer plus the DJ plus the entrepreneur side by side, and perhaps the volunteer in the community for certain things. So we really, as academia, we're challenged to think about how do we prepare these Renaissance figures with these multiple skill sets.
We talk a lot about flexibility at work. It's a very popular topic, but I really can proudly say that we have that a lot, and that is an advantage for Gen Z. That's an advantage for anyone who wants to explore something else, for the working parent. So it is really fitting for many individuals in the workplace. Yeah, someone wants to study something else, and one of the things so people can work 2 days from home. They use it. It has been a bit challenged by our our corporate head office in Europe. There's a different. They have different challenges at the moment, so they do not see how that works in the long run. So we actually we have them off our back on this topic. So it works for us, and it's there to stay for us. But I see that with the next generation, like one of the guys is like, and on the site he's doing some, as you said, like some trading. Before I could ask a question, he was like, yes, and it's also all with our compliance. It is aligned.
This generation, they say they deserve and they want, they're entitled to have flexible working model, not working less, flexible working model that companies now they're pushing back, headquarters, and there needs to be somewhere in the middle because we saw that this could actually somehow help us without minimizing the efficiency and the productivity. So we'll go back to Shireen and Stavros and ask you, how do you deal with that? Because you're both traditional industries, right? I'm not insulting you, but you're traditional industries, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Both.
Both. You are not traditional people, but you are working for traditional industries.
So I'll start by saying we haven't discovered the secret sauce yet. But the effort every day is to find a sweet spot between what will work and be reflective of where the world is going, and also at the same time not discount what has traditionally been happening. So it's a journey. I can't say that it's going to happen in the next 24 hours, but it will happen at some point of time. And I think that's what we strive for as a company. What we also are trying to do is we are carrying out this kind of assessment to see what are those kind of profiles which, given the nature of the business, you have to show up to work. And then there are those, which are more like in corporate management or in your head office, where you do have that option to exercise the flexibility of working from home. And I think that assessment will help us make a more educated call on what's the way forward.
The standard flexibility schedule that we offer is you can come in the office 8 or 9 or 10 and then leave, 4 or 5 or 6, all right? Okay. This is tick the box exercise, all right? It's not the real flexibility. The flexibility, again, is in the minds of the people and how flexible they are, and how every person in the organization is willing to be flexible with their colleagues, all right? For me, flexibility is one of the expectations of Generation Z. They expect a flexible organization environment. And if you want to have an agile environment, then you need to be flexible, yes. Otherwise, so everything is linked. If we start connecting the dots, all right? Flexibility means agility. Agility means working teams together, breaking the frameworks, breaking the silos, means transformation, means innovation. So this is the logical path. That's why these people are really helping organizations to transform and innovate, because they request for flexibility. The point is that they request for many things. And sometimes organizations lose the track.
Okay.
And I think I had this nice discussion before with Eva about asking, and giving, right? And we all fell in this trap of giving more flexibility and more home office and more whatever.
Benefits,
all of this. But I think this issue starts from the wrong focus. We try to focus on their expectations rather than to focus on their needs. So if we focus on expectations, these will always expect and give, and it will never finish. If we focus on needs, we somehow divert the interest to where they really need support and help. So these people are born in an era where social media is growing immensely, right? So they learn to interact socially, non-face-to-face. So you would expect that they prefer not to be in the office also. But also this interaction with social media inevitably creates stress, a lot of stress, because I'm in Facebook and I need everybody to like my post. And if they don't like, depression comes.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is true. And this is what this generation is getting into, and this makes them more stressed. So what we need to do as an organization is help them relieve this stress. We need to address to their needs and not to their expectations. Of course to their expectations, but if we address to their needs, we will exceed their expectations. And then this flexibility will not be so important for them anymore.
How the Gen Z can help them make this D&I strategy to be really sustainable and really reflect the needs, as we talked before, of these people.
Our Gen Z can be also very much on topics like what you said on the volunteering, on the community. I think that's where we have a lot of wins at the moment. And we allow that, and we have a lot of space for that. Maybe to also look at some voluntarily time off. I think that would be something that in this region we can a little bit better provide.
Great. Shireen?
Yes, I think for us, we are undergoing like this entire mind shift journey at different levels of management. But what I try to advocate for constantly across all levels is this element of just respect and acceptance of the individual that you are interacting with. You don't need to conform or align to certain preferences or likes or dislikes, but you agree to disagree, or you are just respectful of who they are and what they bring to the table. You don't have to change yourself. You just have to be respectful of it. I think you can move the needle, and I'm seeing that happening in different regions across the world. If you even within at an interview level, if you demonstrate an element of respect for the individual, I think they feel very encouraged to accept the offer, as opposed to saying, this is the way we are going to do it, take it or leave it. Like that doesn't fly with them at all. So I think that's something that becomes like a major attraction to join our workforce. And the second thing that we've also seen is, as Eva rightly mentioned, they want you to show that when you have a D&I strategy, it's not just a tick in the box, where a company is making an announcement because some investor or some stakeholder may like what you are saying, but are you actually doing something beyond the numbers? Are you doing something beyond the requirement? And if you can demonstrate that, they are attracted to joining your workforce as well.
Very nice. Stavros, and because you have an L&D also background here, and how do you see this shaping in your company?
There are so many topics that were mentioned and all are very interesting.
Choose one.
L&D, okay, L&D, if we go on L&D, on learning and development.
Yeah.
For me, this is the number one tool to motivate these people and retain them in the organization. This is the key to have Generation Z stay within the organization. The point is how we train them. We know also they're tech savvy and they prefer to be in a mode of self-learning, all right? They like virtual learning. Maybe face-to-face is not the best way of learning for them, maybe, based on theory and based on their experiences. But I believe that there is always an effective way, and they need to learn also interacting socially, face-to-face, and this is an opportunity for them. So blended learning in general is the best way, because you need to have face-to-face sessions, and this is what I meant before, that we need to help them to move out from the isolation. So offering them a classroom where we all sit together and we learn from each other or from the professor, is an opportunity for Gen Z. It will help them interact. And of course, we'll complement these learnings with e-learnings, all right? Also possible. And they can also have e-learnings in a classroom altogether, which is a different way of interaction. So still e-learning, still self-learning, all together in the same class. Nice way of staying together. And then on the context of learning and what is required, and this is now was also discussed before, Eva and Mohammad, about the skills. And for me, the content of learning is extremely important because these people, they need human skills. All right, they're technically very, very good. They need human skills. So again, helping them, all right, to interact with people, to know how to handle difficult discussions, to know how to manage a conflict situation. How can you manage a conflict if you're all the time on social media and hiding behind the
screen?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So these are the type of trainings they need in order to develop within the organization. And I think this is what organizations have to offer them to address to their needs. And they will love that. They will stay there forever, as long as we fill in these gaps for them.
Okay, great. Mohammad, how diverse and inclusive is the audience in the university?
Absolutely. I think, again, absolutely agree about tokenism.
Yeah.
You will get called out. This is a generation that does not accept tokenism. Appreciate Eva's comments absolutely about, inclusion is quite critical. So I'll complement to that conversation by talking about diversity in terms of disability and also neurodiverse individuals.
Yes.
And the first thing I'll say is that as a academic practitioner, as a leader in a university setting, I think we need to do a lot more. I'm not saying this out of context. I know at our institution, Middlesex University, we are recognized with 5-star ratings on the amazing work we do in diversity and inclusion. And despite that, I'll say we need to do more. What do we need to do more? We need to get not only individuals who are with special needs, who have learning disabilities, who have got physical disabilities, to get them ready for the world of work, but we actually need to create that ecosystem where we work with leading employers. And I know some of my colleagues here do a lot in that direction. But I just want us to reflect on some facts. So 1 of 20 people report a physical disability.
Yeah.
In your organizations, look around and see for every 20th employee, do you actually have somebody who's physically disabled? 1 out of 6 people report a learning disability, a mental health challenge. Do you know this? Every 6th person around you at your workplace that has declared a learning disability? And if not, are organizations representatives of society? And if that's not, again, collectively, I don't lay the blame on any one area, but I think collectively, there is a lot more we could all do. And that's why my comments, despite doing some really amazing work in our institution, I think we need to do a lot more. I think there is tremendous potential. We have a student at the moment in a robotics program, right? Those of you might not be familiar with these, have to work a lot with robotic arms. They've got to do very, very minute, not just computer coding, but actually physical tasks with equipments, building minor robots, doing soldering and things like that. This brave student of mine has a severe condition of cerebral palsy, which means their hand movements, motor movements are not coordinated at all. And they're brave enough to take that program on. And my real challenge that I'm very, very keen to take on is to make sure that they're doing incredibly well in their program. Right? With the right accommodations, they're doing incredibly well in that program. A typical organization would say, study something else, study law, study, computer engineering, but at least you have to code and you can have, don't do something that is robotics, which requires really very, very strong motor skills. And this brave individual is taking that on. Our goal now is to find employers who will see that as an advantage, not as a disability. Yes. And that's where the challenge is. And that's where, again, we see leading organizations who are making strides in that direction. the ones who get there faster will really connect with Gen Zs, who really value these kinds of organizations when their own value systems align with these organizations.
Thank you for raising these points, Mohammad, because sometimes we say D&I, diversity and inclusion, and we only talk about gender because there's so many, the spectrum is huge. And it needs attention, but also sensitivity to think about the elements we're not talking so openly, but this generation are very comfortable to talk about this. Closing the conversation, I would like to ask each one of you, looking ahead, what's the one thing you would like to take as an action item for you to apply for improving this integration with Gen Z and the company you are representing? Starting with you, Shireen.
Sure. So I think I love this idea of blended learning.
Yeah.
That is something that I'm going to reflect on and see how it can be integrated, because it almost made me think that, gosh, yes, I forgot that while they are good at all these other things, we can really help them with those aspects where they would need help. So for me, I think this blended learning approach is definitely something that I'm going to integrate within the organization.
Amazing.
Yes.
Very nice. We got something out of that. Stavros.
So for me, because there were so many nice ideas discussed, I will summarize it with an analogy I like to do, and I discovered that this analogy is so strong when it comes to corporations and employees. And I don't know, do we have marketeers in the group?
Of course we do.
All right, so we're all familiar with 4 Ps, right? And there is a kind of an academic, they say 4 Ps is already a redundant concept.
From the 60s,
right?
yes.
We have to mention. So, and then
McCarthy first wrote them in the 60s.
We can see that in a way that product is the employment, right? So we provide a product. Employment is the product. The place is the building or maybe the house. Then the price is the salary. And the promotion, we can say it's the promotion of the employee, his advancement within the organization. So if we see it as such, it's exactly what we should not do. It's exactly also where marketing should move forward into the save. So we don't give employment, we provide a solution. It's not a product, it's a solution. So it's not a place, it's an accessibility. All right, we provide access to solutions, we provide access to learning, we provide access to curing stress. We don't offer price, of course, we offer value.
Yes.
And we don't offer
Very
a promotion, because everybody else asks for promotion, we offer education. And then we educate them how to advance within an organization, to give them the right tools. And this analogy, I never thought it works like this. In this particular example, it works perfectly. And this is what I take, summarizing all the good things that I heard today.
And the promotion, do you have anything for the promotion? Because I was trying to make
promotion is education.
So you say instead of 4 Ps, it's save, S-A-V. I love that. Okay, we're going to keep that.
Thanks.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I was thinking still on the whole part of we spent a lot on the last part on the whole learning aspect, right? So I think there we are also, besides the blending part, I think on a journey to really see how can we make this more customized to individuals, because it's at the moment not the case. We have the whole catalog, but how can we more customize? So that is something that I'm just looking at. And secondly, the generations that in the end of the day, the topic is really that integration, right? And not keeping it so much about Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming or Gen X or Y. Because in the end of the day, you started with that by saying it's really all about your mindset. And it's not so much about the age. It's really about the mindset that you have, like that agility part that I really see is key in our organization for, in the end of the day, to have that ecosystem, right?
Amazing. So it's not the age, it's the attitude, it's the mindset. I love that. Mohammad.
I have too many takeaways for myself here. So I think from Shireen's conversations, what I really, really appreciated was the fact that you have to have sort of this open global mindset and also a fit for purpose approach.
Yes.
I think that's a key value that you've added to my understanding. Again, along those lines from Stavros, I've taken away that focus on needs, even those needs that the Gen Z generation and all of us may not be able to articulate very well, but focus on those rather than the want. And I think from Eva, I've taken away this concept of feedback for growth.
Yeah.
I think that's a very powerful conversation that I need to reflect a lot on. In education, it's all about growth. All my 3 panel members, thank you very much for adding to my learning this morning as well.
I like, because I was trying to think about, we talk about blended, save, mindset, growth. Let's make this our tagline for today.
Absolutely.
And with that, I would like to thank you very much for the conversation.